and then another G down on 10 with pedals. Now we're going to use the D on 10 again, but we'll use the other D7th or D9th by dropping back 2 frets. That's our new pattern again. So here we are, just using every position there is. The first D to D9th, we're using the down 2. The second time we use the D, we're using the 5 pedals up to 8A. Then in the second line, we're using the D that's on 10 and using the F lever condition of it, which is up 3. And then the very last one we see is the 10 back to the 8A. Now things are getting thick, aren't they? You have to think of a lot of different patterns. Well, the way to learn them is by playing them. So let's do that. This is track number 1. We'll do page 18. This is the combination of everything. It's the B and the D, the F and the A. 1, 2. Along with track 1. 2, 3, 4. Second line now. Now we're back to line 1 again. Line 2. Back to line 1 again. Line 2. Back to the beginning. And it ends out with a G there. That's an easy little track. It's a simple 3-pattern track number 1. Try it and see how well you do. Let's put all of these little patterns in hard facts so we can kind of see them laid out at one time. While we're playing them, they sort of get played and then they kind of disappear as you leave the fret or whatever. It's better if we put it down, maybe in writing, and you can see the whole ball of wax at one time, which is what you're trying to get in your mind as you're playing. So you can play all these things in a row. Looking at the board right quick, we'll use D7th as an example is all. Looking at the basic positions for D, like D is 5 with pedals, and D is on 10 with no pedals, and D again is way up on 17 with both pedals down. Look at all the places and all the little patterns up and down the fretboard. For instance, if D is up here on 5 with pedals, it's true you've got D down there 3 with the B and the D, 2 frets to the left. But there's also one 3 frets up, the 8A. That's what we just talked about when we were dealing with the first track there. Also, if you have the D up here on 10, you know that you can drop back 2 frets that way, and you can go 3 frets up this way. And look at how they all come about every 2 or 3 frets. This is 2 frets apart. This is 3 frets. This is only 2 frets apart. These are 3 frets apart. And then here's that little set of twins or the brothers we talked about, where you have the F lever and the B and the D are right close to each other there. So we have those only 2 frets apart, and ultimately it ends up an octave above, way up here on 17 with A and B. Now what you're trying to do in all this is make this pattern or formula kind of fall out automatically to you, so you don't have to think about it. And there's only one way to do that, and that's to play through them. So before you go too far from here on out, maybe play through all these and get this idea that this is how we got D and D7th, because this is all 3 patterns put together, sort of all in one big long string. Well, this makes a scale. literally makes a great, beautiful scale. It's called a seventh scale, and it's all left and right. And every one of these things, in reality, can be played on any group of strings you like strings 3, 4, and 5, or 4, 5, and 6. They're very flowing. They're very moving. So what you want here is to build a scale, and all that means is a nice melody that you can play against a D or a D7. And all this resolves, doesn't it, back to the chord or the key of G, in this case, where you're playing D7. Another example, exactly the same thing, though. Let's take something that's sort of remote from D7. Let's use A7. Let's suppose we're playing in a song, and we're playing an A7th, and we want to go to a D. All the things that we want to remember in D is maybe if A is on 5, we want to play an A7th to get it back D. Well, you can take the A that's on 5. There's 1, 2 frets to the left of that. That's that A pedal position there. So you can go back to the left 2 frets, or you can go up 3 frets from there. This is identical to just what we were talking about, but it's in a different place, isn't it? It's the same formula, the same pattern, though. Here's those two little brothers again, the F lever and the B and the D are right next to each other. And again, this could be 10 with the A, B, and the D. It doesn't have to just be 10, B, and D. And then we have A that's on 12 with both pedals down. So we could go from the A there and work our way down this way, or we could work from the A there and work our way up. And then again, if we go from the A pedal position, we can go 3 frets up. Notice in every case, it's every 2 or 3 frets, isn't it? And then ultimately, we end up way up here on 17, which is a high A. So we got to be able to go from A on 17 all the way down through these little sevenths, because they're going to make a beautiful little melody or a great little chord progression that'll get us from A to A7th to a D chord, if that happens to be the thing that's happening. Now, like we said before, if D isn't coming in the chord progression, forget all this. It's not going to do you any good. But this is an A7th pattern for getting from A to D. So this pattern up here and this pattern down here are the same, aren't they? I've just said one is D and one is A. The same positions will come up. Now, it's up to you, not me. I can show you where they are. I can show you how it works for me. But you have to stop right here, and you have to take whatever chords you need, for instance, C or C7th, or an E to an E7th. The pattern is what we're after. The theory is very simple, and really we don't have to think of the theory at all. We can think of the pattern. And that's all steel players are doing. They're using major chords and seventh chords, and you can almost forget augmenteds and diminished and minors and everything else for a little bit. This is the gross amount of what you play. This is what's the most important. If you're going to do an introduction, you need to see this little pattern. We're going to come right back here now, and we're going to use all 3 patterns, the F lever, the B and the D, and the A, B, and the D, and the A pedal, as we have just done it. We're going to use all 3 patterns in our little tune called a Way to Survive, and we'll see it happening all sorts of ways. Remember, A Way to Survive has 4 chords in it, and 3 of them have 7ths or 9ths in them. So we're going to see this pattern evolve 3 different ways. It gets very complicated if you don't understand what we just talked about here on the board. So take your time, don't push yourself. And if this is the first time you've ever seen this and you're just watching straight through it, it may look a little complicated to you. But if you take your time and play through these things, then things become clearer and clearer. This is about 20 years worth of advanced chord theory, if you want to look at it like that. You can't get it in 2 hours. So don't sell yourself out too short here yet. All right, we're going to come right back, and we'll take this whole business in the key of C, and you'll see this pattern evolve in the D or the D7th. You'll see this pattern evolve again in the G and the G7th, and you'll see this pattern evolve as the C to the C7th, which goes into the chorus part there. So get this part down, and then we'll come right back, and we'll take A Way to Survive. We'll use the introduction that we used off of page 14 because we've already have that down, and we don't need to improve that much. Let's go ahead and use pages 19 and 20 because they put together the F lever and the B and the D and so forth. And let's just go right to the book right quick, page 19. And remember, it starts with a couple of measures in the verse now of the C. So we'll just leave those alone. Just C on 3 with pedal. And then up to that C on 8. And we'll establish a D right off. We'll go to 10 first. And then let's use that 8A as the D7th this time, because that's just screaming that G is going to come. So we go right to the G on 10 with pedal. And then let's drop back 2 frets from there and make the G7th using the B and the D. Now you could use the A and the B, depending on what you want to feel there. Then we're back to the C. And then the band does a real quick little walk up back into C. So let's stay right there and hit 8 with a B and the D. Or A, B, and D. Either one, they'll work, remember. Now, to line 2 there, a C again. And let's use another C up on 11, A and F. And then let's go to 13F, straight to a D7th this time. And let's really scream a D9th at them, saying G is coming. That's where we go to the 15, A, B, and D. Oh, this puts chill bumps on folks right there. That'll raise their hackles on the back of the singer. He'll forget his words and everything else when you hit that chord. And then we go to the G. And let's tell them that C is coming. So we drop back 2 frets from that G to 13A. And then we come to the C right there on 15A and B. And then we use a C7th because we want to tell everybody that the F chord is coming. So we drop back 2 frets and hit the 13, B and D. Now, let's talk about that just a minute. We can use the C on 15A and B. And there's a nice little trick that we can add to this that really doesn't add any problems or anything. If we know we're going to be in 15A and B, and we're going to go back to 13, B and D, let's step it back and go. So instead of going straight from 15 to 13, let's go 15 with pedals and go to 14, B and D. And it sort of adds super tension to this thing. Or you can do it several ways. You can use straight 15 and go to 13, A and B, and then resolve it to 13, B and D, or we can do the little slide. Maybe 14, A, B, and D, and then 13, A, B, and D, because that'll work too, won't it? So you have a lot of choices. You can go from 15 pedals straight to 13, B, and D, or you can go from 15 pedals and cheat, go 1 fret above 13, B, and D, and go 14, B, and D, and then let it resolve to that. Or you can go 15 with pedals again to 14, A, B, and D, making it a 9th, and then resolve it to the 13, A, B, and D. And then maybe let it off. You hear all these things many times on records. So you have a lot of choices there. Now we go to page 20 because that leads us to the chorus, which is F. And then a G7th. Let's go down to 8 with the B and the D. And then F is going to come quickly after this C. So let's go right straight to a C9th, which is 6A. We never did hit a C major, did we? Straight to the F, 4A and F. And then straight C on 3 pedals to a G. That could be G7th, but let's keep it simple. Back to a C. Now let's play G7th, 8, B, and D. Now the last line on page 20 is 8, and another C down on 3 pedals, and the 3, B, and D. Now, this is not hard to change and make it really nice. Let's look at that last line one more time. Starting again at the first. A C on 8, then down to 3 pedals. Now, instead of going straight to the 3 with the B and the D lever, which is very vanilla, instead of hitting it straight on, go 1 fret above and hit 4 with the B and the D. And then resolve it to 3, B and the D. So we could have 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Nice little effect there using 4 with the B and the D. And sliding 1 fret down. And then go to the 1F, which gives us another D7. And real nice change here is the G9. Stay right there and just hit 1/8. That gives us that G9th, that's the 3, back from 3. And then straight to 6F, which gives us G7 to the 8. Now, this brings us to the turnaround, so we'll go back to page 14 and play the turnaround after this thing. This is a nice progression. Keep in mind what we did and the little changes. Here we go, along with A Way to Survive the track. 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2. First line now. The D. G7th. G7th. C. Second line. D7th. last line.
Perhaps for the rest, looking back isn't best, but for me it's a way to survive.
Come into the turnaround now.
When my
Back to the
heart
top.
I read your love letter, and the words make our love seem alive.
Second line.
It's not healthy, they say, to relive yesterday. But for me, it's a way to survive. I
The
must
chorus on page 20.
do what's gone if I to go. I can't face the future. I've tried.
The last line.
Perhaps for the rest, looking back isn't best, but for me it's a way
Coming up the last line of the
to
tag.
survive.
Back to that G ninth on 1A.
For me it's a way
And the ending.
to survive.
That song is a lot of fun. It's got that nice 4/4 tempo to it. And the fills can be played very simply, just remembering this little pattern. Cheat on these chords a little bit. Remember one thing, there's a nice thing to know about 7th and 9th chords. Anytime we hit one straight on here, if it happens to be on 1A, for instance, a G7th or G9th might be on 1A, you can always cheat and go one fret above it, like 2A, and slide down to 1A. If you have a G7th, for instance, that's maybe an 8 with the B and the D lever. As long as you know it's coming and how to hit it straight on, if you can hit it straight on, cheat and go one fret above it, like 9 B and D, and let it resolve down. It's an old trick that we've used for 100 years, I guess. Ever since jazz and blues has been born, we've taken 7th chords and raised them one fret and let them fall down. So if you want to go back and kind of watch what I was doing, I was kind of cheating on you every time. I'd go one fret under or one fret over and slide into it or resolve down, sliding from one above or one under and get into it. The down seems to be more fun than the one under going into it. So take what you see here on pages 19 and 20, play them straight first, make sure you understand the pattern that you can play them right on, and then practice cheating and go one fret over or one fret under and sliding into them. And that really will raise the hair on the back of your neck, and that's that soul playing, and that's what people like to hear about steel guitar, is that you can bend that note. It's adding super tension, that's all. All right, it's your turn. Try this and see how well you do. Remember the little D that we played, for instance, maybe off of 10? 10 with no pedals. Remember going up 3 frets to 13F. Now that's one way of playing D7th, but if you want to swap out the F lever and play the D lever in there, that'll give you the same little minor chord as we used to get when we played the A pedal. Remember the A pedal will give you a 7th or a 9th too. Remember that you can always exchange anything that was an F lever. Back in any of the previous pages, if it said an F lever to play a 7th, you could change out and play the D lever, which one might be convenient to you, or whatever your choice might be. Or use both, one or the other. They'll work because you're throwing in a minor chord that makes it a 9th rather than a 7th, and that's all we're saying. So, if you go to page 21 in your book there and cue up track number 1, I've written a little instrumental that makes this kind of fun, and it's kind of nice to hear how the 7th fits in maybe to a scale as well as just chords. The first line on page 21, we call this D lever 7th. First line sounds like this. And here's the second line there. And here's where we start with the D or the D7th. Here's that 13D, which could be 13F. And that's the whole thing. It's just 2 lines, a little instrumental that demonstrates where all the 7ths are. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it goes right back and repeats. All right, here's it is along with track number 1. And this is D lever 7th on page 21. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And repeat back to the top. All the time just throwing out the F lever. I used the F lever that time. And that's all there is to it. It's a nice little instrumental that you can learn how to use the D lever in the substitute spot. Now you can use that as the chord or in a passage like that. Well, let's go to page 22, and this is called Agent X. And this uses something that you might have or you might not have. A lot of people have a knee lever on the guitar that lowers the 5th string, and the 5th string would sound like this normally. And the knee lever we have, usually it's an up lever for a lot of people, and it lowers the 5th string from B to B flat. And that makes a 9th chord. A lot of folks don't know how to use it, but here's where it comes in. If, for instance, we use a D on 10, no pedals. Remember dropping back 2 frets and hitting the A pedal to make a 9th or a 7th? Instead of playing 8A for the 7th, let's use the X lever right there and listen to the sound of it. It's in exactly the same spot as A pedal was, and this makes a D9th. It's 2 frets to the left of 10. So 10 is the D, 8 with the X lever gives you a D9th that obviously is going to lead back to G. Now, on page 22, we're going to combine the two so you see how they work together. 8A will make the 7th or the 9th, that's true. In the second line, you'll see it go from 8A to 8X. Now, there's another way. If you don't have that knee lever, you can still do it, but it's not very easy. You can drop back 1 more fret from 8 to 7 and hit the B pedal and your F lever, and you get the same voicing. But if your F lever is on your left knee, you won't like it. It'll be like breaking your foot because your ankle goes one way and your knee goes the other. So get the knee lever, if you can get it, that lowers the 5th string. Now, here's page 22, what it sounds like. It goes here in time, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the second line goes, and you hear all that 7th to 9th. Again, page 22. And here it is, along with the track. This is Agent X, track number 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. X lever. Start again. I'll do it with B and F this time. A pedal, drop back, B and F there. X lever. And that's how that one sounds. It's a nice little substitute for A pedal. Makes a glaring D9th chord there. Let's go to page 23 and we'll finish this out with a nice little swap. It's called 9 for 7. That's a bad deal any way you look at it, but 9 for 7 is what we're going to call it. It uses the 9th string as a D7th chord. Remembering that D is on 10 with no pedal. If you add the 9th string in, it makes the 7th chord. So the 9th string is the 7th. That's why we call it 9 for 7. And you can add that to 5, 6, and 8, or 4, 5, and 6. As long as you get that 9th string in the bass, it makes a nice D7th. Now, we don't use this a lot because it doesn't slide a lot of places. But here's what page 23 sounds like. 9 for 7 goes like this. And then here we come to that D7th, and it goes big fat D7th or D9th there. And when you hit that 10 to 10A there, you're actually playing a D13th chord. And then we're going to use that little swap out for D7th again on the F lever. So here it is in time, page 23. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then repeat. And then coming in. Here we go, along with track number 1. This is 9 for 7. 1. Using the 9th string as a 7th, that's all.
2, 3,
and go. Start again. Again. Maybe 21. Page 22. And 23. And so forth. You can keep swapping around. And that's it. That's a nice little exercise. You got 3 pages there that give you some little substitute for 7ths and 9ths. Remember, they follow the same patterns as the other. I hope you don't let all this get the best of you, but they are patterns, and you have to play them many, many times before you understand them. Okay, it's your turn. We'll see you the next time.